Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here in the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building, and our guests are actor Simon Abkarian and author, actress Victoria Tennant. Award-winning actor, writer, director Simon Abkarian spent his childhood in Lebanon and moved to Los Angeles to join Gerald Papazian's theater company. He's appeared on TV in Europe and in the United States, on stage in France, particularly the Théâtre du Soleil, and in an array of foreign and American films. I loved him in Adam Agoyan's Ararat and in Shlomi Alkabetz's Get, the trial of Vivian Amselen. So how did you get into acting, or are all Armenians actors? I'm going to make you laugh.
I think all of us were actors, but depends how much strength you have for you to make it your life and craft.
Which is difficult.
It is a tricky job.
Yes, I think so. People don't realize it, do they?
It's a tricky life. You have to be strong enough, have the belief you have through this work has to be very strong, and be patient.
Did you start in Lebanon? Were you in Beirut?
No, I was a kid. I left Lebanon when I was 16.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I started. I was dancing in the dance company.
Armenian dances?
Armenian traditional dances.
Where?
In Beirut, and amateur. And then
amateur.
Yeah, because we Armenians, we have a lot of amateur feeling through certain arts like theater and I'm talking about the diaspora, not about Armenia.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you were so you had this feeling. No acting in your family.
No actors. No.
So how did you find Gerald Papazian?
An actor called Georges Bigot came from Paris to do a workshop here. And I did the workshop, and I went to France, and I joined the company, Théâtre du Soleil.
That's when you joined? And that is like, what, Ariana Mnouchkine? Which is, it's like one of the top things in France, right?
Yes.
Top theater companies.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
And I think they came to the Olympics here.
Yes, in '84.
Yeah.
I was here when they came. Then,
were you?
Yeah. And then he came back, George. We did the workshop, and Tim Robbins was in this workshop. And
Tim Robbins?
Yeah. And we stayed friends with Tim. And he has a company now that works,
yes,
with
I know.
masks.
In Culver City.
Yes,
it's great.
And then I work.
Did you work there too?
I worked there too. I staged a play 3-4 years ago.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And I'm wishing to do another one with them one day.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Did you like theater or you like film?
It's different. It's different. It's different. Everybody knows it's different. But for me, to do theater is something that feeds you on the spot. You have the public in front of you, and after that, you don't wait for how did it go after the shooting? Like people call you back. You have the instant reaction on the spot, and
you feel it.
Yeah.
Your role in Ararat was a really tough one. You looked to me like you were 6'6". I don't know how tall you are. Maybe you are 6'6", but you looked so much bigger than everyone. What kind of role was that?
It was very strong because first of all, it was for me. What wrote Atom Egoyan, this film is the opening. He opened something with his Ararat, because okay, we're all the way to do films about the genocide, but it's not only about the genocide. It's about the mechanism of how people, the denial. It's about denying something. And
that was the way he wrote it, right?
Yeah.
It was about the denial.
Yeah.
The other person that you worked with is Robert Gedigian.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Gedigian.
Gedigian.
Yeah.
His films are incredible.
Yes. He's
I mean, he just blows me away. And what is it? Histoire de Fou? Une histoire
Histoire de Fou, yeah.
Where
It's
was
the-
it? Where'd you shoot?
We shot in France, and they went to Lebanon also to shoot some of the pieces.
And do you act in French in that?
In French,
or,
yes.
or-
In French. In
And what
French.
kind of role is it?
It's the father of a kid who wants to go and take arms, go into violence against the Turkish establishment.
Oh, it is?
Which is a denying establishment until
It's
now.
kind of like just what we were talking about with the Goyen. Because Gadjian doesn't do that, does he? He's like, I don't know, he's like these personal stories.
Yes, this is a personal story. It's about small people. It's about people that you don't notice.
Oh, I see.
He makes big stories out of small people.
That's exactly, yeah, exactly. I love his films. And I also love this brilliant Shlomi Elkabetz that you're working with.
Yeah, it's the third film we're doing together with Shlomi and Ronit.
It's the third because,
Yes.
but he came out of he did big series of TV shows, all in Israel.
All the films I shot with Ronit and Shlomi is in Israel, in Tel Aviv.
In Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
How did you find him? How did he find you?
I guess they were looking for an actor to do the part, and they found me, and I'm happy with it.
And where were you?
I was in Paris.
And they filmed in Tel Aviv?
Yeah, we talked a long time with Ronit and Shlomi, and I want to tell something about Ronit and Shlomi. It's one of those directors like Robert and also Atom. When you work with these people, that you feel useful as an actor. Sometimes you forget what you're doing, why you're doing it.
You mean they make you feel?
Yeah, they make you feel, and also you end up in a place that makes you feel important as an artist, as a creator. So this is why I'm very grateful to work with them.
But I think those three people are fantastic directors, and they're good storytellers. I think
Yes.
that's what it is. They know how to tell the story. This film you did, this
Get?
Get,
Yeah.
the trial of Vivian
In
Anselm,
Salem.
is a trilogy. There
Yes,
are three
it
of
is.
them,
Yes.
and you were in all of them.
I was in all of them, but each film I mean, you can watch Get without having watched
That's what I wondered.
Yeah.
And so
It's
what
a
was
film
the
in
first one?
itself. It's a story in itself.
Take a Wife. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about your character. In Take a Wife, do you talk a lot? Are you
Yeah.
vivacious and charming? Because in Get,
It's the same man. It is the same man 10 years ago. I mean, it's the same man 10 years ago. So there is no reason for him to stand up if he fell down here in the kitchen. There is no reason for him to stand up in the bedroom, living room. It's the same man.
it's the same man, but you change so much, don't you? I haven't seen the other
Yeah,
two. I've
yeah.
seen Get.
Yeah.
And I know the way you're directed.
Yes.
You don't say very much.
I don't say very much.
But look at these looks. And does Shlomi tell you how to look?
Yes. Yes. Because the director gives you the measure of what you do, or the being out of measure also, or being in certain measure. If he says -2, let's say I go to -2. But he never says -2.
No, but I
So,
mean the idea of
but,
how he directs you.
I mean, this is a collaboration. The collaboration should be, I propose something, he says yes, more, less, right, left, colder, hotter,
But the first one was To Take a Wife. The second one was 7 days.
Yes.
I don't know.
7 days it's 7 days of mourning after someone is dead. You mourn 7 days.
Oh, it's the mourning.
Yes.
And who died?
Some of our cousins and all the family gathers, and they speak about family issues that were being hidden or things. So it comes out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the
It's Get.
trial because
Yes.
she wants to get a divorce.
Yes, and she wants to get a divorce, and the man, her husband, he doesn't want to give it away. And in Israel, the law is that as long as the husband says no, she can't get the divorce. No matter how many lawyers you bring, no matter how many rabbi try to convince you to give you the get, if he says no, it's no.
You sat in front of a trial. Your character sat in front of 3 rabbis.
Yes,
And it was a very stark room.
it is.
And you're just stoic.
Yeah,
You're so hateful. or lovable. Maybe one.
I
maybe
think-
you love her so much,
I-
or you hate her so
I
much.
think the character I play is trapped. Is trapped,
Trapped.
In his tradition and in his
Right.
being unable to say what he feels really. So
Oh, he can't say it.
he can't say it. He doesn't know how to say it. He has the words, but he doesn't know how to put them together to say something to the woman.
And let's talk about the words, because this is an Israeli Israeli film, and it's in Hebrew
Hebrew, Arabic also a little bit, and French.
and French. You speak French.
I do.
Did you speak Hebrew?
I did.
Did you learn it, or did you know
I
it?
did learn it.
And what about Arabic? Did you know Arabic?
I know how to speak Arabic, but I speak too much Arabic. I speak mostly French and Hebrew.
And how did Mr. Alkabetz direct? In English? In Arabic?
In Hebrew.
In Hebrew?
In Hebrew.
Oh, so you understood
In
all
Hebrew
that.
and English. To me, he speaks English sometimes, and it's you know what I'm saying is that it's a good opportunity to when you work something like this in a foreign language, let's say, it's that you have the chance to learn the people you're working with through their language. So me, I had another perspective to with the Israeli people I work with through their language.
You also, your character is married to Ronit.
Yes.
Ronit Elkabetz, who's an Oscar winner. She's, they introduced her the other night as the Meryl Streep of Israel. I mean, you had to feed off of her acting. She had to feed off of your acting.
That's the way it works. I mean, if you don't feed feed each other, it's not worth. But to come to Ronit, I think she's one of the greatest actresses I ever met in my career, and I met many a few actresses. Ronit has something special. She has something special. She's daring. She dares things that some people don't dare do.
And she's the sister of the director. Did you find any tension there?
On the contrary, there's a harmony within them. Now, sometimes, Shlomi tells me something and Ronit tells me something, but it's normal. I mean, actors shouldn't be waiting for exactitude on the time. Exactly, tell me what you want. He doesn't know what he wants.
Right.
Okay, he has the right not to know what he wants. Most of the time, they knew what they wanted. So I think that. I said, and on the contrary, if you look at it on the beautiful side of it, you see two people trying to tell a story together, leaving each other's space.
I know.
And
It
it's
is
beautiful.
brilliant. I loved it. I loved it.
It's a mark of intelligence also.
To be able to
do that, of course, and love, even if the word love is not fashionable these days.
Right, but you both had your own spaces.
Yep.
In this
Yes.
in this frame.
Yes.
And you turned, your body language was all telling.
It's all work. I mean, it was very, very precise, and we did so many takes because the scenes were shot from every point of view. So we would shoot the scenes like 28 times sometimes.
Oh, really?
And to make it short.
I see. And what about the other cast members? They were so fantastic.
All of them, beautiful actors.
Her lawyer and
Mina Shanoy, beautiful actor.
Fantastic.
He got rewarded for that in the Jerusalem Art Festival for the best leading actor. And my lawyer,
your lawyer,
yes, he got also Sassoon Gabay. He's a wonderful actor, and very funny, very, very, very deep, and a very good actor in a word.
It was fabulous, and I was so happy to see you because I remember meeting you years ago, and I felt like, oh, I know that actor. Yeah. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for welcoming me here. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with author Victoria Tennant. Hi, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here at the Hollywood Museum, and we're with actress, author Victoria Tennant, who was born and raised in London, trained at the Elmhurst Ballet School. Her acting career scans film from LA Stories, All of Me, The Ragman's Daughter, to TV, The Winds of War, Chiefs, War and Remembrance, and theater, Doubt, Love Letters, and Getting Married, among all the other things. But she's done a lot of voiceovers. The 4th and 5th season of Mad Men. What is a group voiceover?
3 men, 3 women, and we do the post-production sound.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It's just because usually voiceover, I always think of one person, but when they say group voiceovers, I didn't understand what that.
It's loop group.
Is that what it is? Loop group? And then you're not on camera.
No.
And how long you've been doing that for a long time?
Oh, I mean, I've done it for years, you know, as a way to work and qualify for my union medical. But to have the privilege of working on a show like Mad Men, it's, you know, it's so good that the hours fly by because it's fascinating watching what's up on the screen.
So you watch the screen and then you do the voice?
Well, you do it simultaneously.
You do it at the same time, yeah. Well, one thing, you said you trained for 8 years. We're going to get back to ballet. We're going to leave all the theater and the film because you've done so much work over your the whole body of work. You said you trained for 8 years in ballet, but it was a no-go, right?
Yeah, my sister and I went to a ballet school, which was a boarding school, and we were day girls, so right there, social death. And we didn't do sport. We did ballet instead, so 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, we did ballet.
Oh, you did? And why?
Yeah.
Because you were influenced by your mom, I guess. Huh?
Well, it was the gift Mom wanted to give. Wasn't really a gift we wanted to receive, but you know, she was a Russian ballerina in the English countryside, and she didn't know about mothers and families and country houses, and she was a Russian ballerina who had had very little childhood herself. What she knew was ballet, and she wanted to give us the gift of it, and to be at the ballet school for 8 years, which was fairly serious training, and be Irina Baronova's daughter was hard.
Was difficult. I know, it must have been difficult. Then how did you get into film? You definitely decided you weren't going to be a ballerina.
Oh, I think life decided for me.
So then where did film come from?
Well, I auditioned for a film that I was offered when I was 20. I had my 21st birthday.
Were you here in America?
No.
You were still there?
No, I was still in Europe. And it was an American director, Harold Becker. He was a very successful commercials director, I think, and it was his first feature film. And he since went on to great glory.
Harold Becker used to sit at the Bistro Garden for lunch every afternoon with a little entourage. I remember him so well. Well, did that bring you to Los Angeles?
No, it was Winds of War that did that.
Oh, it was?
Yes. I was cast in London for Winds of War, and we started filming here. It was a 14-month shoot, and we started here and ended here.
Because it was a long series? They did it all here?
No, they didn't do it all here. They did it partially here. We traveled all over the world. They shot all over America, you know, D.C. and submarine bases and air bases and Port Hueneme to recreate Pearl Harbor. And we shot in France and Italy and England. Well, yeah.
And then what'd you do? Then did you choose to stay here? Or did you go back to London?
Well, at the end of the shoot, one of the producers said to me, you should stay here. You're going to get a lot of work when this thing comes out, and you need to be here. And I said, well, yeah, but how would that work? Where would I stay? And it was a lady producer, Barbara Steele, and she said to me, well, you would stay in my guest room.
Oh.
So,
because you were very young.
Yes. So I stayed in her guest room, and one day she said, oh, I feel like a change. I'm going to move out. I'm going to go to the apartment across the hall, which was a mirror image apartment of the one she already had.
And it was here in Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles. And so one day I helped her carry all her furniture literally across the hallway into the facing apartment, and I inherited her apartment. So I didn't have to look for a place to live. My hostess moved out, and I found myself in a very nice apartment here.
Did you have an agent then?
Yes.
Oh, you did have an agent.
Yes.
So then you did start to work.
I did. I did a couple of things, and then Winds of War came out and was very
successful.
And very high profile, and it was a big deal to be in it, and I was very lucky to be in it.
And that must have been about the time when I met you at
Yes,
Lachine Academy.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that. I thought you'd been here for a long time because you were very comfortable in the ballet class.
Well, because I'd had the training.
But you also knew Ria Bushinska.
That's right, a family friend, because she was a baby ballerina with my mom.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the book, Irina
Right.
Baronova and the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo. And there's a beautiful, I love this cover. It's magnificent. It looks like a George Hurrell photograph.
It's by the great American photographer in Chicago, Maurice Seymour.
It's fabulous, isn't it?
And his son, Ron, has all his dad's pictures now, and was very, very kind to me and let me use the Maurice Seymour pictures that I have in the book.
It's so beautiful. And the photographs in the book are just enchanting. Let's talk about it. But why did you decide to write this book? When we were in ballet class, I don't think you had any interest in it early on.
Well, no, my mother died in 2008, and she lived in a subtropical part of Australia, incredibly beautiful, but with a monsoon-like climate that seasonally is very, very humid. And my sister, who lived there, and I discussed what to do with my mother's papers, with everything that she had in her office.
You mean after she passed?
Yes. And my sister was very concerned because of the climate, the humidity, you know, everything on paper, particularly photographs. It's not ideal. So I said, well, I live in Los Angeles. It's a desert. I'll take them. So all these boxes arrived with
Were they all
bags
boxed
and
up?
bags that-
Were they all boxed up in storage, or were they in her house?
Oh, they were in her house, in her office.
Oh.
But we didn't know they were there.
Oh.
And I found there were over 2,000 photographs going back to 1915, but, you know, loose like this in shopping bags and trash bags, and most of them unidentified.
And what were you going to do with them? Were you going to
They
give
were-
them to a museum? Or?
Well, my mother's papers are all at the New York Public Library, the Lincoln Center Library for the Performing Arts.
But you did that. Or
Yes.
did your mother give them at one
No.
point?
No.
You did it all.
I had my mother's papers, and I decided that I needed to catalog them because I couldn't send them the way they were. First of all, we had no idea what was in there, and nor would anyone else when they arrived. You know, 2,000 photographs, letters going back to 1926. I mean, it was unbelievable.
And where did you put them all when you started sorting?
I pinned an old white tablecloth across the windows of my little office, and I carried everything upstairs to my office, and I looked at these mountains of paper on the floor, and I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? Okay, one deep breath, one piece of paper at a time.
Is that what you did?
And I sat on the floor, and I would, okay, Swan Lake, okay, you know, and I made piles of all the different ballets, and then I started trying to arrange it chronologically.
So you did this all on your own?
Yeah.
Did you have somebody
No.
helping you?
No.
And were you able to read it? Because you said I read all of the papers. Could you read
did.
the handwriting?
Oh, yes, and when there were letters in Russian,
Oh, right.
I went down the road to the taxi stand where a lot of the drivers are Russian or Armenian, and I sat in the cabs with the drivers, and they translated everything for me.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Some photographs taken in Tsarist Russia, where my grandfather was an officer in the Imperial Navy, they had some Russian things written on the back. So, you know, the
They
taxi
could do
drivers would
that.
tell me, and they would translate my correspondence.
Were they impressed that you were there with them?
I don't think they knew what they were looking at, but it was fun talking to them.
So once you got started, did you have to research things?
The course of the 5 months that it took me to catalogue all my mother's things, which I did, I ended up with 7 3-inch binders of photographs. I gave the New York Public Library 1,800 photographs.
And the book is such great reading, and I love the way there's like 2 tones. Your mother's tone is in
Copper.
copper, brown,
print,
beige,
yes.
and you add yours in black.
Right. So our 2 voices are interwoven. My mother's voice I took from letters that she wrote me and an oral history interview that she gave to the New York Public Library in the 1970s, and I had the transcript of it. And as a last resort, I used quotes from her autobiography.
You talked about the baby ballerinas, and they were very famous. Tell us who they were.
Tamara Tumanova,
Who was gorgeous.
Tatiana Ryabushinska, and Irina Baronova, my mother.
And how old were they, and why were they called baby ballerinas?
Well, in 1932, René Blum and Colonel de Basile and Georges Balanchine, as ballet master, set out to start a new ballet company. There would be a basis of some of the Diaghilev and Pavlova dancers who had been out of work for a couple of years since those companies collapsed. They did not want to recreate the Diaghilev Ballet Russe company, but they wanted to honor the work that they had done. But Balanchine wanted new, he wanted fresh, he wanted modern, and he decided he wanted young. And he and de Basile made the rounds of the 3 great ballet training studios in Paris, and he picked 3 young girls to join the company, Tumanova, Ryabushinska, and Baronova.
And they weren't at the same ballet schools, were they?
Tumanova and my mother were at Olga Preobrazhenska's, and I think Tanya Ryabushinska was at Kashinka's.
I think she was somewhere else,
Yes.
because they didn't know each other, did they?
No,
Until they got together?
That's right. So when Balanchine picked my mother to join the ballet company, she was still 12.
I can't believe they were so young.
And the parents said, but that's impossible, she's still at school.
I know.
And they were talked into it. So she left school at the age of 12 and joined the ballet company and was a professional dancer, and not just, you know, the back row of the corps de ballet. She was a principal dancer from the age of 12.
And it was, they were together, the baby ballerinas, then they separated because was it another company that came in?
I think Ryabushinska and my mother were nearly always together. Tumanova came and went. When Balanchine left in the second year, he took Tumanova with him, and Leonid Myassin came as the choreographer for the company to replace him.
The other thing that I think was so interesting when I talked to you years and years ago, and you mentioned it at the beginning of this show, that they never had a childhood. They were always in fairyland. I remember you said, well, how do you expect them to do that? They were always told they were fairies, and people were always taking care of them.
That's right. They were given.
And did you find that?
Well, they were given their marching orders, and off they went. You know, there was the requirements of the ballet company, which was 10 months a year. They traveled with their mamas. And
that was the other thing. The mamas were always there. The mamas, the baby ballerinas, and the mamas.
Of course, because they were children. So, for most of their working life, these very young girls and later young women were under the complete control of their parents and the ballet company.
And the mamas gave the orders. They were real mamas.
Well, my granny certainly was.
She was a real...
She was one tough cookie.
I think that leaves us to buy your book and read it, because I think you tell it all there. And I'm so happy that you came to talk to us today.
You.
Victoria Tennant, thank you. And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. See you next time.